But then when you look at yourself after a month or after a year of doing that, and you're like this way and your neck is forward, like, why has this change happened? You didn't even know this. You didn't know that your muscles and everything is getting morphed into this position, locked into here, because you have actively trained yourself to that position. If the training is not intense enough, people don't realize that they're training.
When we go to the gym, when we move our bodies, we are not, now I'm training my posture, or now I'm training my health, because it's implemented in the methodology. When you train your body, you are automatically focusing on these aspects.
At least he had some kind of good trade-off. So he broke his body, but he achieved like Mr. Olympias and champions.
And got famous and made good money.
Right. But what most people do when they break their body, they get nothing. They get absolutely nothing in return. What you need to understand is that everything that you're actually doing develops your posture. Like you're training throughout the day, like 24/7, even sleeping in some ways, if you want to take it here.
Your posture has massive impact on every function of your body. It has like direct impact on how you're digesting everything. And it also impacts your hormones like testosterone, cortisol, also impacts your blood flow in different parts of the body. Once you start building strength on top of balance, physique, and on top of health and good posture, then you are truly like a cream of the cream, top level, elite level athlete.
Like, I understand that if people are just getting into training, they're like beginners, that they don't analyze a lot. Why are they training? What is their purpose? And even what are they actually trying to achieve? So if you're just beginning, you kind of take whatever you see outside of yourself, like, oh, big muscles. Okay, I want just big muscles. Or you see someone lifting heavy and you go like, well, I just want to lift heavy. But I think that if you have been training for, 6 months, year, 2 years, you should at some point start asking yourself a bit like more deeper questions about your actions, like what are they based on and what are you actually aiming towards with your training? And now you can ask yourself, like when you go to the gym, like what are you thinking about achieving there? Is it just, the big muscles? Like what is your main purpose? Because of course, maybe you want to achieve the bigger muscles. Maybe you want to just be able to lift a little bit like a weight more over time. Maybe you just want to lose more fat. You want to be like just lighter weight. Or perhaps, it could be achieving a certain skill. And all of this can be the purpose of your training. And that's the kind of the beauty of it, that we have the power to choose what we focus on. But the problem or the danger here is that it really matters a lot what we start to then focus on. Because if you just solely have these kind of external outcomes that you just take it plainly from somewhere that has nothing to really do with the function of the body, that all to do with the external or externalities of the body, what it appears to the outside, the weight, the muscle mass, the aesthetics, and then you may easily miss plenty of benefits that are in the training. And for example, most people, I think, the way they approach training in general, and whether they're doing it by themselves or with some other people, it's always a competition. And if you're doing sports, of course, there's the competitive element. Like I like to do sports. If you do martial arts, you want to kind of win, and there's the game element, and you want to become, better than the other person. But if you're training just by yourself for your own benefits, it should not be about competition. Like, if you're not training for competition, the training should not be about competing in any sense. But still, people go to the gym and they always have in their mind like, well, I need to lift more than this guy, or I need to, beat my own personal records, which doesn't necessarily transfer or translate to actually you improving as a whole. And this is what we've been talking about many times. There's this kind of cognitive maybe dissonance, is that the fact that you are increasing in weights or even in aesthetics or muscle mass does not mean that you're actually improving your body as a whole. And this is the reason why our core values have been the health, posture, and the performance. And why is this? It's because we have noticed in our practice is that everything else, all the rest of the goals that I just mentioned, whether it's building more muscle or something else, that is just the effect from having health, posture, performance. Because it just makes sense. The better health you have, well, this is all, of course, interlinked. If you have usually if you have better posture, you have better health. If you have better health, it means you have better posture. And if you have this better, then you have also the performance aspect is better. But everything else comes from this. And this is why every time you go into the gym, this is what you kind of want to be focusing on.
Yeah, I would say most people, they don't really think about these things at all. And even most training styles do not even cover this. And most trainers and coaches haven't even talked about this. Like it's completely like a foreign idea to even consider like health, posture and performance. Maybe now it's more popular and with like the rising physiotherapy and stuff like this. But for most training styles, whether it's bodybuilding, powerlifting, calisthenics, or other forms of training, this is not considered at all. And you can clearly see this from the influencers, from the people who do these training styles and people who are trainers in these styles, because they usually have lots of injuries, like their bodies are riddled with like joint problems, and also their posture is necessarily not even in the optimal shape. Because what happens with many training styles, whether it's even with gymnastics or powerlifting, is that in the beginning you will see improvements, but over time the imbalanced way of training will create the imbalanced structure in your body as well. So you see this with gymnasts, they have the turtle posture, and you see this with lifters as well. So it's because and the reason is that many of these ways of training people focus on, they are focused on the improvement in the weight or in the skills. They are not focused on improvement in the posture, balance, or health. It's not the main focus. And if it's not the main focus, then you will always be sacrificing these things for the false gods called weight and skill development. And yeah.
Yes, and well, you said that it's not even considered, and I think this is true. It is often because it's not considered consciously. It is like there, kind of under the surface, like people know that I'm supposed to keep my straight back, and that is their idea of posture. So it's incredibly simplistic idea, and actually I think most people idea of posture is this. Like if I mention posture, then they're like, I do like this way, or I have this computer posture where I'm like this way, neck forward. Like this is people's idea of posture, and if you want to have a good posture, and if you want to somehow put it into your training, then you try to use upright posture when you're rowing or perhaps doing some squatting. But there's also a lot of people, like especially powerlifters, who don't necessarily even consider this at all. But so the posture is there, but it's in no way conscious in their approach. So the way, when we say like we have posture as one of our core values, like what does it even mean, and how does it really like show in our approach? And I think it shows in that it's in every single of our training. It's kind of like consciously trained, because you have to understand that every single position, every single exercise has a posture. Like all body positions, what is posture anyway? So posture is just the position of your body, and it's the arrangement of your different body parts in space. So every exercise you're doing and whatever you're doing, even resting position, sitting, standing, all of those contain some kind of body positioning arrangement of your different legs and arms. So this is the posture. You're utilizing it every time, like always and every time, somewhere. And this also relates to the fact that every single exercise that you're doing can be beneficial for your posture, and every single exercise the posture should be considered. Because we utilize the posture as a kind of a tool, as a kind of a frame for the exercise. It's almost impossible to do any exercise in a mindful and purposeful manner that would have a correct intention if you don't set the posture. So for instance, athlete 20xx, you set the posture in a way that you're able to train specific muscles in your body. And if you don't set this posture, usually you are probably not training the targeted muscles as effectively as it should be, or you might be even harming possibly yourself because you're not consciously like having this energy in your body to hold up your joints to support them with your muscles. And the other factor, for instance, that we use posture is the variety of it, because people think now, okay, this is the posture, like this Conor McGregor or whatever, something like this way always. So that is only one part of like one position out of many that your body can be. It's not the only one where you should be. And the variety comes, for example, in the movement training, in that you're doing these different catwalks, bear walks, crab walks, and a host of different movements where you're twisting, your back is rounding. it's arch, it goes from arch to roundness, it goes into sideways flexion, your spine goes in spiral patterns. This is the versatility of the postures that your back actually should be able to, for example, do, and your body should be able to do. So it's the consciousness of utilizing posture to precisely be able to train certain parts in your body and use it as the base and a frame to have a support where you're not breaking your body or joints. And the other factor, I think, in our approach, it is the variety that you're actually utilizing. There isn't just one posture that you locked into. And there's even a saying, I'm not sure where it comes from, but your best posture is your next posture, which just implies this dynamic nature of the body, is that there's no locking into this one sort of area, which often happens. Like you mentioned, the gymnast people or some other people, the posture becomes problematic when you lock into it for too long of a time, so that it starts to actually morph your body structure into something. That's when it starts to be problematic. But like in isolation, just having sometimes being like relaxed, it's not harmful.
Yeah, and people need to understand that no training style automatically like covers this. Like this is like not common. This is not common knowledge. This is not common at all. Like this is very rare, very like different because back in the day when I first started training, like over 10 years ago, I did everything you see online today because it was still the same trend 10 years ago. So I was doing the basic calisthenics, powerlifting, gymnastics, and bodybuilding. I was mixing all of this together. And what happened after 3-4 years? I had lots of injuries, lots of joint problems everywhere, and I wasn't athletic at all. My posture was pretty good, but it was not optimal at all. So I was doing all of these things people do nowadays and people were doing 10 years ago, and I was just getting worse and worse every year because the training was imbalanced. So my posture, in the beginning, everything got better because I was doing lots of things I had never done before. But after the 1 year, after 2 years, everything started to get worse and worse. I started to get the injuries, which was a lot of it was the result of the imbalances caused by the imbalanced training systems. And likewise, I wasn't getting athletic at all. And my posture, if I had continued with those training styles, it would have just become stiffer and stiffer and more limited every year, just becoming better at very small aspect of fitness and training and sacrificing the rest. So that's why it's good to understand that it's not self-evident for any training style that health and posture should be prioritized. And what needs to be also understood that a proper training style or proper strength training in general, it should like restore your body. It should heal your injuries. It should get rid of injuries. It should not cause them. Of course, in the beginning, it can be like maybe you hurt your wrist a little bit or maybe something like, and accidents happen. But in the long term, your body, your joints should just become more bulletproof the more you do it. And you should not get any like chronic injuries. Like if you are getting like more pain every year in new places and the existing places and nothing is getting fixed, then there's some problem with the training style and the strength training you're doing. And that's why, like Eero mentioned, that variety is one of the keys, because when I was training with the old styles, I was mixing everything together and I was still missing 50% of my body or something like this. Like only after I started to really understand how to move, how to train the body, I realized that, okay, I have so many muscles in my arms, so many muscles in my legs, so many muscles in my hips that were not developed at all. Just because I was doing deadlifts and squats, it was not enough to train the body. And even today, I'm still finding new areas to develop. Like recently, me and Eero, we have been doing so much of these old school training styles and mazes and glabs that we have discovered new muscles in our forearms and hands in general that we never had before. Even after like over 10 years of training and training the body in very versatile ways, we are still finding new ways and new possibilities in our bodies. And that's one of the most exciting things anyone can like dream of.
Oh yeah, and not just like the forearm was like huge development from the training that we did lately with the mazes and everything, and even other type of forearm training, like that's an entirely new area. But same way, like in the past couple of years, even my back, I was able to find just like these muscles and articulations that I had not really even visited. So there's so much room to actually find these different articulations, because the body is quite a fine machine, and people, I think they miss this completely. I was just thinking today, like, okay, there's so many incredible ways. I was like training my spine with these different rotational and flexion extension combinations, and I'm thinking that some of these athletes who I see, even in UFC, they have these cupping marks always in their spine or something like this way. And I think this is often the common way that people approach their bodies, is that instead of actually understanding the richness of the postures and the richness of these different articulations that you have in your body, you just you go to the therapy. And I'm not saying that that's bad necessarily. You can do that as a supportive thing, get some cupping and massage. It can improve the blood flow.
Not cupping, but also the foam rolling and massage.
Yeah, foam rolling and all of this. There are benefits, and it's a therapeutic tool. But sometimes, I'm just thinking like, you do that, but then at the same time, you completely miss these options of actually what there are open for you to train your body. And this, this postural thing that we talk about, Samuli mentioned, okay, he was going to the worst direction. He wasn't really paying attention to posture, because that's what most training styles have that in, like they don't focus on it. And I had, this, because I was so into the old school bodybuilding and golden era bodybuilding, and they were quite fixated about this kind of like rib cage expansion thing and always keeping this kind of posture. So this is the reason why I actually focused quite a bit on this type of posture in the beginning. And for me, that was the good posture. And most people are still fixated on that. Like if they are conscious about the posture, then it's like this way. And I was doing that in every single thing, you could imagine. And externally, I looked like I have great posture, but internally I was still imbalanced. And this is something that people also don't realize, is that you cannot always see the state of the physique, even when it looks sort of good. Like you can have a big bodybuilder, right, and looks great and like it's like this way, but still internally the man could be stiff. He could be like
and unhealthy
and rigid. And I was going towards this direction as well, because I couldn't understand like this internal posture. So as much as the whole thing that we are doing actually to change the external frame, it comes from the internal, to focus on the muscles internally, to focus on even on the breathing internally, because the best results, like I mentioned, I mentioned that every single exercise can develop your posture. Every single exercise can improve your mobility. This is even Athlete 20XX, why people get results is because every single exercise is done in a way that is conscious and is controlled. So every exercise becomes therapeutic. Like this is always what I'm saying. And it doesn't matter, like people try to do these exercises like what is this called? The
face pull.
Face pull, yeah. And they think that it's a good exercise, but then they're doing it completely wrong. And like shrugging their shoulders and being like this way, it's the exercise. The only reason why face pulls works is because you're doing it properly, and you might as well do regular rear delt rows, and that will produce same results or even better results depending on what you're doing. But improving the posture comes from improving the body as a whole. So what we are actually focused on is increasing the freedom and the capacity of the body as a whole. Like this is how I would say it. Increase the freedom and this kind of movement vocabulary and abilities of your body as a whole, and that will actually lead to changing this internal tension in your body, and it increases the possibilities that you have in your body, and this just transfers into the better posture. So it's not you're specifically training for posture, because all training is in a way postural actually. Posture is the sum of all of these parts as you're training.
Exactly. Like we are not, when we go to the gym, when we move our bodies, we are not, now I'm training my posture or now I'm training my health, because it's implemented in the methodology of this our form of strength training. It's like part of it. So it's like automatically when you move your body, when you train your body, you are automatically focusing on these aspects without needing to specifically like focus, because that's the problem, because nowadays people do like bodybuilding and powerlifting and they have problems, and then they think, okay, now I need to fix my body. So I go to the physiotherapist and I do some fixing exercises, but that's the whole problem, because there's no fixing exercise, there's no any of this. Like, it's just, if your training is done correctly, it will automatically, without any effort and without any focus, fix all of these issues and focus on health and posture and performance automatically. Like you said in the beginning, that everything stems from health and posture, because you don't have any athleticism, you don't have strength, or you don't have, you are not handsome or beautiful without health either. So that's why, like, a lot of people, when they start training, they are not happy with themselves. They are not happy how they look. They are not happy with their size of their muscles or their body structure or body composition. So they go to the gym. But little do they understand that size is such a small aspect of looking good. Like, we see every day these massive bodybuilders, because we go to the very popular gyms where there are like these influencers and pro bodybuilders. And in my opinion, of course, everyone has their own taste, but I don't want to look like this, and I don't think it looks good. I don't think it looks healthy. It's just, a massive, like a ball of meat, basically. And it doesn't have the athleticism, functionality, or even the appearance I'm looking for. So that's why it's good to understand that even if you go to the gym for the purpose of getting more aesthetic and getting like more attractive and like this, even that comes from health and posture, because when you have health and posture, your skin looks good, your muscle tone looks good, everything looks good, and you also build muscle better. And when you have balance, your body and muscles and everything also looks good. So you don't have to be the biggest guy, you don't have to be the super shredded guy or like this. You just have to be healthy and have a good posture and a balanced, structurally balanced physique. Then you will look the best you can look, because everyone is different, but you can look the best version of you, which is the most attractive to anyone.
Yes, and you can also like lift heavier weights. Like, you can do this as well, but it's just like, I always have this, you kind of need to balance a little bit there. Like, so for example, are you going to lift so heavy that you're going to break in your body, or are you going to lift just heavy enough so you still stay within the limits of you being able to control the movement and stay healthy? Like, how, like, do you really need to lift the heaviest possible pull? Like, is this serving you on your body, or is this just serving your ego? Like,
is it the spirit of competition?
Yeah, that, and I understand, like, if you're really competing and this is like the passion, and people, some people think that it is worth it. Like, I think, I even watched the Ronnie Coleman. We sometimes talk about him like he destroyed his body, but he seems to be like, no regrets. I did this, I achieved greatness. So yes, okay, I can understand.
I think he has to say that to feel good about himself and his future. But if he really considered other people and their future, he would not say that.
But that's also the thing. It's just talking about the Ronnie Coleman, and at least he had some kind of good trade-off. So he broke his body, but he achieved multiple Mr. Olympias and champions.
And got famous and made good money.
Right.
And everything. So.
But what most people do when they break their body, they get nothing. They get absolutely nothing in return.
Yes.
Like, all you get is like the pat on your back from maybe your bro who says like, "Hey, good job, you lifted more weight than last year," or something like this. You don't get this trade-off that some of these people get. So I think that is not realistic for the average person. It's not realistic even for me or for you. Like, you have to always look at that there are these extreme guys who get benefits in different ways, and some people sort of get away with some type of bad training methods for longer than others, but usually it will still haunt them at some point. And then you need to look at, like, did you actually get anything like really beneficial in this trade-off of breaking your body? I think for most people, I would never recommend that for like regular people, no matter what is your like preference, because you can get all kind of offended and like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm gonna do what I want, and I want to build muscle, and fine, like, you can do that, but this is what we recommend for people, and I don't think like that is a healthy way just to focus on that bloated muscle mass, like you said, like you're just kind of this meatball, and I think it is actually quite distorted view on the body, like we even mentioned before.
It's a sick
view.
Yeah, it's a partly sick view. Like something is wrong in the head.
Yeah, and if you need to like look at these examples, or you want to idolize physique, like I do idolize and admire physiques, but this I go quite way back. Like I can find very nice physiques that I admire from the bronze era, the silver era.
Yeah, I don't even like any of these modern guys.
No, not
like
one of
I don't like any of them. Like really, I don't like Sebum. I don't like any of these guys.
And I'm like, that's the thing. And it's not to offend everyone, but it's the same with me. Like I don't like the physiques. I don't know why. Maybe it's some modern steroid that they're using, but it's just something lacks in the physique.
It feels like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu.
Yeah.
These were the last guys. I was like, okay, this is pretty good.
Yeah, Frank Zane and these guys. I agree.
It was the last generation. I was thinking like this is good, but after that everything's like.
And of course, those guys were popping, all kinds of pills, but
it was still, somehow respectable and admirable.
It was like I agree as well, even though, I'm not trying to achieve that, but those are physics that still looked good into my eye. If you want to like that, I don't like the physics nowadays, but I like the physics then. Like it's not that I'm somehow biased, like I just don't like the nowadays training. But big muscles can look good, but there's something weird about the physics nowadays, and I don't know what they're actually doing to themselves. But the postural element is something that you really need to. What I would like to people to understand also regards to the posture. Okay, we have talked about already every exercise you're training that trains the posture, but what you need to understand is that everything that you're actually doing develops your posture. Like you're training throughout the day, like 24/7, even sleeping in some ways, if you want to take it here. Like because you're sleeping in certain postures, and even this affects. So, and the reason for this is that time intensifies everything. So you may be sitting, right? So think about this. You're sitting maybe 3 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours per day. And you're not like feeling it in your muscles necessarily like, I'm training now. But then when you look at yourself after a month or after a year of doing that, and you're like this way and your neck is forward, like why has this change happened? You didn't even know this. You didn't know that your muscles and everything is getting morphed into this position, locked into here, because you have actively trained yourself to that position. So people don't understand, because if the training is not intense enough, people don't realize that they're training, because they always need to be feeling it. But this is what you need to realize about the posture as well, is that it's not just what you do in the gym, like one workout. You need to look at it, throughout your entire day. How long are you sitting and what kind of postures are you keeping? Should you be changing,
how you're
walking, standing, doing all this stuff? How do you keep some breaks? Like you're always training. Keep that in.
And another important thing to consider is that health and posture, they always go together. They're walking hand in hand, because your posture has massive impact on every function of your body. For example, digestion.
Yeah.
It has like direct impact on how you're digesting everything. And it also impacts your hormones like testosterone, cortisol. There's lots of studies on this, how taking a power posture like lowers the cortisol and improves your testosterone. And likewise, your posture and the balance and how mobile you are also impacts your blood flow in different parts of the body. So even if your neck is very tight and like this, maybe it even restricts blood flow to your brain. So you are not even able to think as clearly and at the highest level. So your posture impacts literally everything. So that's why it's one of the most important things to consider when you do any physical activity or even like a regular activity, because it has the biggest impact on your regular life and every other aspect of life, whether your relationships, your business, your work, everything. So that's why when you have health and when you have good posture, your performance Like when you have structurally balanced physique, your performance is already at the relatively high level. So you don't even have to be able to lift heavy or anything, because as long as you don't have any weaknesses, you are already strong. But once you start building strength on top of balanced physique and on top of health and good posture, then you are truly like a cream of the cream, top level, elite level athlete.
Yeah, that's a good point
Because if you look at the best athletes, you don't see them like, of course it depends on the sport, but if you look the well-rounded sports with like lots of like aspects, like maybe basketball or soccer or mixed martial arts, the best athletes, they are always like very good individuals. They are very healthy, very strong, very balanced individuals. They're like, because our purpose of training is improve ourselves as a whole. It's the purpose of our training is to make us better human beings. It's not to get better at lifting weight. It's not to get a bigger bicep. Of course, these things happen.
Yeah.
But the main purpose of our training is to make us better human beings. And when we are better human beings, we are, of course, automatically more attractive. We are better in whatever we do. We think better. We move better. Everything is better.
Oh yeah, and I think I really like that you brought this sort of the mental aspect or emotional aspect of the posture as well, because that is a huge part, like the testosterone and all of this, and even your mood and how do you present yourself, and like imagine how it will feel like if you're like this way always. Like how can you be like really very confident? Yeah, confident. Like how confident can you be? And even like you said, the blood flow. Imagine like people who are depressed and they just go more towards here than like even like looking down. I mean,
yeah, I would say like depression is largely a habit. It's a habit of eating a certain way. It's a habit of living a certain way, and it's a habit of like having a certain postures every day. Because imagine if you just fix those three things, if you start to fix your lifestyle, you start like doing exercise and doing it outdoors, in a healthy environment with sunlight, and then you fix your diet, you don't take any medicine, you don't take any drugs, you don't take any stimulants like caffeine, you don't drink alcohol, and you just eat healthy stuff, and then you take like a very confident and happy posture and try to smile a bit more and have a better influence from the outside. Like you watch some comedy films and just listen to nature outside with birds and deers running outside. Like how hard is it to be depressed at that time? It's almost impossible.
No, but that's the harsh reality, because people are like, well, I have this disease, I can't do anything about it.
Of course, it benefits the medical industry because they can give you pills for lifetime when you're sick.
But that's such a good point, and yeah, this may sting some people, like if you are suffering from the depression. But I just mentioned here that you're training your posture all the time. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you're always training. And the truth is also the same way that you're training through your physical, like how you stand and how you posturize yourself and how you exercise and move throughout the day, that trains you. And you understand maybe through that you're the one actually making it. You should probably realize that you can change the way you're moving, and that will change the state of your physique. But when it comes to the mental side, like the depression, then people are, no, I can't do that. But imagine like your thoughts. Like if you think like enough negative thoughts all the time, you will get good at that. Like you will actually become like, you get a master's degree in negative thinking, and you don't even realize that. You're just thinking negatively all the time, but you actively trained yourself to go to that direction. Like it's a matter of like how much are you willing to have personal responsibility in your life. And we always talk about this autonomy and personal responsibility because we actually want to empower people. And you said, the purpose here is to become like just better human beings, like better. Yeah, I think that's the way it ultimately is. I enjoy all the physical stuff, having muscles and all this six pack, but you gotta have something behind there as well, and something higher. And I think that the training that you're doing is ultimately towards that, like taking this charge of your own body, having the ability to guide your life actually forward. It's not necessarily that you're controlling and trying to like twist your life to a certain direction, but like you said, simple things throughout the day. Go outside more. Don't consume negative content from the Instagram, social media. Stop over-consuming stimulants that make you agitated, like literally increase your stress hormones. Like allow it to happen. Remove this stuff that is actually making you like anxious and maybe depressed and this way. And take charge of what you can take charge of. Don't worry about the things you can't control, but control the things you can. For example, your thoughts. Don't train yourself to be negative. If you have trained yourself to be negative, you can also train yourself away from there. You can start to change your mind, your thoughts to a very different direction. You can also start to change your body positions to different, and they all kind of go hand in hand. The more you improve your health, the physical health, the better thoughts you will start to get in your head, because you start to increase your confidence. And it's just like this positive cycle that starts to kind of roll.
Yeah, and nowadays, and almost all time, you always have very good control over your influence. Like if you have this like a very negative angle, just stop talking to that angle. Or even it can be even your family. If it's really negative, very bad, very undermining, very like this, it's better to be away from this kind of people. Like even if it's your family. And likewise, you have the easiest control in the world over your social media usage. Like most like politics is not good for your mental health, and most stuff you see online is not good for your mental health. Like for example, what I personally do is that my Instagram, and if I go to Twitter and like this, it's just positive stuff. It's like funny cat videos and like this. So it's not like, it's just, something to give me positive emotions and positive hormones. Yeah. Like I'm not interested in this drama or this negative stuff. Like I just, if I'm not like directly like linked to it, then it should have no purpose in my life.
Yeah, we were just actually a few days ago, we met with Alistair Overeem here, and like he had a major kind of this mission to make people more knowledgeable about the danger of like social media. I think I was so interested that he even had that kind of like so many thoughts about it, but he had his own experiences, his daughter being like social media addicted, he himself being addicted to social media.
In the past.
Yeah, in the past. And like he really brought it out that that's pretty much of an epidemic, but you need to realize that you can like start to control it. You can change who are you following there. And this stuff, if you know this, like some guy is posting and you always get like this really strong reaction or some negative reaction and like triggered, maybe sometimes true triggers. But anyway, like, or let's say like you see some women who are posting like almost naked pictures and you get these like lustful ideas, you need to like press unfollow on those. Like this
and press not interested.
Yeah, not interested or block or whatever, like, but you have to understand that every single thing that you see there can like change your mind, and it's made to influence you to a certain direction, I think.
Yeah, it has like a direct impact it impacts your thoughts, it impacts your feelings, so that's why it's very good to control. But it's good that you mentioned the Alistair Overeem, because we had dinner with him and we spoke some business in the future and stuff like this, which we plan to do possibly together in the future. But anyway, like even he is like one of the best kickboxers in the world, like top 3 probably, because he beat Badr Hari and stuff like this, and he fought for the UFC title and he beat Brock Lesnar, who used to be a champion also, and he fought Stipe Miocic, and like the highest level. Even him, he is nowadays on this very spiritual detox journey, like he's getting rid of all this stuff and eating very healthy, vegetarian or vegan, and just
and the fasting stuff.
And his training is also morphing, like he's doing more athletic movement stuff and functional stuff. So even like it's never too late, even when you're like even at the highest level.
43 years old, highest level, and making like I mean, I was barely able to recognize the guy. Looks so different. He is totally like changed. I feel like so.
Yes.
And he also, saying like his energy is now better than what it was, that it has ever been actually. So that's also amazing. Like, at that point, you take charge of your development. You can change it like that way.
And I remember also Steve Maxwell talking about like how he was still doing the same stuff as we were doing in our 20s when he was like 50 years old.
Yeah.
So it's good to understand that this is like the sooner you start, the better it will be. Like Steve Maxwell started when he was 50. Alistair Overeem found the right path when he was 40. We already found the path when we were in our mid-20s.
Yeah.
Like the same stuff, but the sooner you find this path, the better it will be, because this is like no matter how advanced you are or how beginner you are, you can choose this path, which will be a path of health and everything else. Like it's
Sometimes it's even for me nowadays is because it has happened so many times, I'm kind of like, okay, I understand it. But when you actually switch and you start to do even one right thing, like one proper exercise or something, the change can be so quick. Like you've for years, maybe you tried a little bit, try to change yourself, try to get better health or something. But once you do like one like really good thing, it can like within days even you can feel a difference. Within week you can feel a big difference. Within like a month of doing some good stuff, the difference is so transformative. People don't understand that we're not fixated on one state. We can always like transform ourselves. We can always like sort of reborn in a way, to be reborn. And going back to we've been talking about the posture. The reason here is that the posture and focusing on it in all of these ways we have been talking about. We talk about the general training. We talk about the movement stuff, trying a variety of postures. We talk about the everyday postures that you can do. By focusing on the posture on all of these sectors of your life, it's one of the most powerful ways that you can use to improve your health, to improve the feeling that you have inside of your body, just by the posture itself, because it affects all the rest of the stuff. So it's so powerful that I really like. This is the wake up. Everyone experiences their wake up call. Like we experience it through pain. Most people they have some catastrophe, some serious injury or something, and then they wake up. But I hope that you can, even without experience really any kind of catastrophe, you can take these ideas that we present here and have that as a kind of a wake-up call to start now. Because like you said, you mentioned many times, the sooner you start, the better. You should not be waiting for 10 years and then start to figure it out. You should. And
because the problem is also that the longer you wait, the harder it will be.
Yes,
because some people are so far in the wrong path that when they find the right path, it can take 2 years to even get to the normal level. So that's the problem. But it's always better to move in the right direction, no matter where you are. But likewise, the sooner you start, the better it will be. Like there's no better time to start than right now.